Alright, here we are in Medford, Oregon at the Medford Rogue Valley International Airport. Our flight today is going to take us to Crescent City, California, which is 79 nautical miles to our west as planned. The route is going to be via the Rogue Valley VOR and then Victor 122 to Crescent City. MEA for that particular routing is 8,000. We're going to be at 10,000 for our flight. And look at the latest weather here at Rogue Valley International. Shown that the winds are out of the north at 5 knots. And skies are clear, temperature 2, altimeter 3027. So we'll get loaded up here and we'll check the weather. Crescent City as well. And it was VFR, should be VFR. We'll be on an IFR flight plan just to demonstrate the capability of the RealityXP GNS430 W paired with the Carenado perspective system in the Cirrus here. Shut our door. I'll go through our pre-flight, before starting engine checklist. So pre-flight inspection is complete. Weight and balance is within limits. Emergency equipment is on board. Passengers, we don't have any. Seat belts, seats and shoulder harnesses are adjusted and secure. Okay, doors shut and latched. Now we can go ahead and through the starting engine checklist now. Okay, brakes are going to be on them manually. Battery switches are on and everything comes on with that. Strobe light is on. Mixture is full rich. Power level full forward. Fuel is on low boost. Be on the left tank here to start with. Propeller area. Just make sure it's clear. And it appears clear all the way around. We go clear prop and open the throttle 1/4 inch. And max to start. Okay, back to both. And we're started. We'll bring it back to 1,000 RPM. Okay, after engine start, mixture lean. We don't need to do a lot of that here. Oil pressure check, master switches, alternator master switches are on. They came on when we switched the battery. Avionics power is on as well. Engine parameters, everything looks good. We're at a little bit high here, so we'll bring that down. And just to make sure everything looks good there, and it does. Let's go to the engine page, in fact. Okay, we'll go ahead and bring up the GNS430W now. And what we want to do real quick is to enter our flight plan here. We're going to go Medford and then directly Rogue Valley VOR. Oscar Echo Delta. It's in there. And then we'll be Kilo Charlie Echo Charlie. Crescent City. Let's make sure that looks okay. That is about what we were planning. So there is that. We'll plan our approach when we get to Crescent City, see what the weather is doing, if it's holding up as planned. But we will be flying an approach in Crescent City, but we'll load that up once we get a little bit closer. Okay, and with that, we are ready to taxi. Our taxi route here, we're going to be runway 32. The winds are 350 at 5, so we're going to be runway 32. We'll taxi out of here and then take a right and head southbound on taxiway Alpha, all the way down to Alpha 1 for 32. Let's go ahead and do that now. Going to run our before taxi checklist. Flaps are up. Radios and avionics are set. Cabin heat, we don't need fuel selector. We're on the left tank and we'll stay there for now. Taxi and parking brake is disengaged. Roll forward, do a quick brake check here. Brakes work. And then as we taxi, we'll just make sure that our HSI, our gyro, and our turn coordinator are behaving as we would expect them to. Alright, so we want to take Alpha right up here to our left, and we'll take that southbound. Okay, we've got everything ready to go here. I've got Crescent City tuned in on our NAV2, and the Rogue Valley VOR tuned in in NAV1. And so at this point in time, we'll just perform a normal takeoff and taxi out to the runway now. Just quick confirm we're on low boost, flaps are set, power set, we're on the full tank. We'll do a simulation here where we'll say that ATC has given us a initial heading of 270 to intercept Victor 122. So we'll go ahead and do that once we get airborne. And that's confirming runway 32 on 4 flight. Everything matches up there. That is 32, identified and confirmed. Okay, we'll line it up here. And slowly advance the throttle and make sure everything looks good in the green. And our airspeed's alive and the engine is in the green. .77 knots. Let's rotate. And then we'll aim for that VY speed 103. Whichever works there. Okay, we're through 1,800 feet, which is 500 feet above field elevation. At this point in time, we would arm, quote unquote, our CAPS system, and we'd bring our flaps up and from our engine page to our map page. Let's turn off the engine page. Alright, so that's our flaps, our caps, and our maps. And say that now's our heading of 270, so I'll start that turn here. And the one thing we didn't set was our initial altitude of 10,000. We'll get that dialed in there. Alright, so our 216 radial is coming in there. Go ahead and turn to begin to intercept it here. The other thing we could do is bring up our RXP. And we'll go to flight plan page, and we'll actually want to activate this OED to Crescent City leg. Doing that, hit nav mode here, change our CDI over, and then we should be able to intercept that, and it will take us to Crescent City. So not much to do at this point. We're going to be established. Actually, we are established on the airway now, and and we're on our way up to 10,000 feet at this time. So we'll be back once we get a little bit closer to Crescent City. Okay, here we are at our cruise altitude of 10,000 feet. I have adjusted some things. You'll see we're at 85% power, RPMs 2,500. Manifold pressure on this airplane is a bit high for what it should be in the real-life aircraft. Our fuel flow on the plus side, though, is 0.6 lower than what it should be at 85% power. So we've got a nice tailwind here. We're doing 200 knots over the ground, 40 nautical miles to Crescent City. So we're hauling along pretty nicely here. The latest Crescent City weather has the winds 340 at 13, gusting up to 19, visibility 10, skies clear, temperature 11, altimeter 3017. So just kind of looking at our charts here, what we're going to do with those winds 340 at 13 is plan the RNAV GPS runway 35. We will take that if we can from the initial approach fix with it, which is SIGA. We can back that out a little bit as well to Old Jack if we need to, but we'll plug that in here as we get a little bit closer. We'll see what works out a little bit better for our route. Obviously, if we had air traffic control, they would be helping us along this route here. Since we're kind of doing it on our own and we do want to do a full procedure, we'll plug that into the 430W and I'll show you guys how it flies it. So we'll check back in then once we get a little bit closer to Crescent City. But for now, certainly enjoy the view out here. Nice day flying and very nice tailwinds also, so can't complain about 200 knots across the ground. So, be back in touch here shortly. Okay, so now that we're getting a little bit closer to Crescent City, we're going to go ahead and load up our approach. So we'll bring up the 430W procedure, select our approach. We mentioned the winds are favoring runway 35, so we'll select that. Now, here are our options. We can go vectors, we can go SIGA, Old Jack, or the Crescent City VOR itself. Coming in this route, the Crescent City VOR would be probably our best route. We could ask ATC if it were available for vectors. But in this case, let's do that. And you can see that then loaded up on our MFD down here. So we now have that. That is not currently activated, so we're going to need to do that as we get a bit closer. The other thing we want to start doing here is looking at altitudes and see what we need to be down to. In fact, along those lines, 26 nautical miles here. We're going to start to slow down a little bit. We'll bring it back to 65% power. So we're making plenty of speed, and then start our descent down. So let's take a quick look, and we'll brief the approach chart once we start our descent and get a little bit closer. Okay, as you can tell, we've started our descent into Crescent City, just about to break through some clouds here, and you'll be able to see the California coast coming up in front of us. So, a couple things at this point in time. Let's go ahead and we'll bring up the RXP, and then we'll go procedure. We do want to activate the approach. So now that has us going direct Crescent City. It's going to fly the approach from there. I've determined that we want to cross Crescent City, or be somewhere near it there at we'll try to be at 3,000 feet. So we're going to need a little bit better descent here, and we'll bring the power back too, of course. So the other thing we want to do now that we've armed the approach is we'll brief the approach, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the approach chart. It is the RNAV GPS runway 35 at Jack McNamara Field, Crescent City, California. It's going to be a WAAS approach. Approach course is 357. We have a 5,000 foot runway, airport elevation of 61 feet. At this point, we would typically have the AWAS or ASOS weather. We'll say that we have received that altimeter 3017, which has been set, and Unicom 122.8. We dial that in and announce our positions as we are inbound the airport for the RNAV GPS 35. Our missed approach is going to be a climb to 1,300, then a climbing left turn to 2,400 direct SIGA and hold. That is going to be pre-programmed in the Garmin. We'll go into suspend mode. We'll just need to activate it as we need to. Otherwise, we're going to cross Crescent City. We'll be outbound on a outbound course there to SIGA. We need to be at 2,400 is our crossing altitude for SIGA. Final approach fix is Kaiwis, which is 1,600, and our missed approach point then is going to be a descent altitude, decision altitude of 301 feet, 1 mile visibility. We do have that, so that should not be an issue at this point. So we're going to LPV approach and runway 35. So otherwise we'll just bring the power back here so that we can slow down. We don't want to be busting in here going too quickly. This is typically we would give the Unicom a call, 122.8, Crescent City traffic, Cirrus 112, Takeoff Romeo's 3 miles to the northwest. We're sending out at 4,900 for 3,000. We're going to do the RNAV GPS runway 35 approach Crescent City. So we will just hang out and watch and see how this handles it. I'm going to be completely, hands off. I'll be monitoring, of course, have my hands near the control stick just in case we need to intervene. But what we want to do with this video is to show the functionality of the 430 with a coupled RNAV approach. So hopefully we will do that. So just keep going on here. We're through 4,100, just about on the top of the airport. We can actually go ahead and do is arm 2,400 for our descent altitude here, since we're going to be on the outbound leg in just a moment. You'll see the countdown there. Left turn 177 is 7 seconds now. Okay, we'll start our turn to the south. This will constitute our outbound leg from the Crescent City VOR. We need to keep slowing it back. We're a little bit high on our descent. We started our descent a little bit late, so we do have a little bit of residual speed, and I want to bleed that off as we start this outbound leg. Usually about 100 knots, 90 knots or so. So we'll bring that back once we get down to 2,400 for that outbound leg. So as you can see, we've got a little over 9 miles to go. In fact, let's show you what the plan is here. Crescent City direct SIGA, which is in this chance going to be our hold point. We'll probably we'll do the course reversal, then we'll remove the hold. There's no need to hold at this point, but plan that, and then just scroll through the list here, and then KWAS, runway 35, and then the missed approach, which is SIGA. So we'll just keep monitoring that. Our airspeed, we're leveling up 2,400. Our airspeed's coming down. We'll shoot for 100 knots. And then we can run our before landing checklist. Now go low boost, go to our fullest tank, which is the right tank, Temperature is going to be full rich. And we'll do a full flap landing. Autopilot, we are doing a coupled approach, so that's going to remain engaged. And again, as we're flying this, it's of course always good practice to announce your position, self-announce on the Unicom frequency. You know, in this case, we're Crescent City traffic, Cirrus 112, taking Romeo's 5 miles to the south of the airport on the RNAV GPS 35 approach outbound leg, and then we would just kind of confirm, you know, that we're going to do a course reversal, then be inbound. So we'll announce when we get to that point as well. It's always good to let everybody know where you're at and what you're planning on doing. Okay, the reason I have the two windows up here is, as you can see, the MFD on the perspective system here does not completely draw everything. So we're coming up on this holding pattern here, this course reversal at Sitka. It's going to be a parallel entry. So we'll see, as soon as we've got a little over 1.5 miles to go, we'll see how it flies it. Again, we're monitoring the autopilot. Hands are near the control stick. If necessary for manual intervention and autopilot disconnect, we can always take over as soon as we need to. But again, this is coupled, so we'll see how it handles this coupled approach. Okay, there's the announcement of the parallel hold entry. So that should be coming up here as soon as we cross Sitka. There it is. Okay, and now you see that I've within the 430, the active leg now indicates that parallel entry for the procedure turn, or hold in lieu of a procedure turn. So now it's on the outbound leg. It's going to do a 45-degree turn then to the left from this position to perform that course reversal. So everything is moving along as we would plan. And just got the updated weather here on data link. Altimeter's now 3018. Got that set. And 340 at 13. And it looks like now some haze has moved in. Visibility 1 3/4 miles with haze. Temperature 12. Altimeter 301 So it's a good thing we are on this approach. If in fact the conditions are hazy, but we'll be able to see here shortly. Zoom in a little bit here so you can see what is planned. We're on this outbound leg, and then it's going to be a left turn to re-intercept. I guess I mentioned 45 degrees. It's a little bit beyond that. You'll see it's coming up here. In fact, what it's going to do is just a teardrop back toward the east, and then we're going to re-intercept that that course back to Sitka. So there we are, starting our course reversal. We're at 2,400, a little over 100 knots, which is fine. We've already performed our before landing checklist, and again, now we're just going to monitor the autopilot to make sure that it's flying what we expect. And the other thing we want to confirm is our Decision altitude of 301 feet. I don't think we're going to be flying to minimums today. That's not going to be an issue, but we'll keep that in mind and just make sure that LPV approach is enunciated here on the 430 when we get to that point. So we'll be watching for that here in the next few minutes. Okay, so I just went into my flight plan list, and I deleted that hold. That's going to take us direct Sitka here, which honestly was not the desired result. We're not really, I guess it works out the same, but we're not really on the proper teardrop entry there and tracking back on the 328 inbound handy to Sitka, which in this case that's fine. We'll just go direct that for now. Zoom out a little bit so you can get kind of an overview of where we are on the approach. Again, just kind of monitoring things here. 2,400, we're a little over 100 knots. Our altimeter is set. Descent altitude, our decision altitude is 301 feet. Just double checking things. Helps to kind of do a mini rebrief just to make sure that those numbers are in the forefront of our mind and that everything is performing again as we wanted to. Now, as we've made the turn here and we're headed back to the north, we picked up a bit of a headwind, 23 knot headwind. That headwind that tailwind that was helping us on the lake down from Medford now is a nice little headwind. So that'll be good. That confirms runway 3, I guess our choice for runway 35. So as soon as we turn inbound here at Sitka, we can start a descent down to 1,600 for our final approach fix at WAAS. Wiz. See the distance ticking down there on the 430. Okay, there we are. And we're going to set 1,600 and start our descent. Make sure we don't gain too much airspeed on that descent. Now, at this point, I'd like to be around 90 knots, so we're going to pull it back. We'll see what we end up with and adjust power as necessary. Now, the other thing you see that LPV is now enunciated on the 430. That's good. That's what we were planning. That confirms our decision altitude of 301 feet. This is an LPV, so we'll be using the LPV minimums for category A. And what that also means is we can arm our approach mode, and that will take over then once we get to the final approach fix. 1,600 is captured. And again, we want to be 90 knots here. I'm going to add my first notch of flaps. And we'll go ahead and do it now just so we have the chance to stabilize. So we're going to have to add some power there to maintain that 90. And the reason I put it in there is just so that we can stabilize at that airspeed and at our power setting before we get to our final approach fix and start that descent. So we'd run through just the last few checklist items here. Landing lights on. We do have our boost pump on. Mixture is rich. And flaps are at 50% right now. Do full flaps for landing. Now, of course, you don't have to have this 430W screen up while you're flying this approach. It does make it quite helpful. You can only get so much detail out of this, out of the MFD here on the right-hand side of the Cirrus perspective system. You know, for that reason, I like to have it open while I'm flying any sort of approach, especially coupled approach, just to see kind of where we are at distances, you know, active legs, those sort of things. So that's why that is open right now. Kind of junks up the screen a little bit, but it does certainly help monitor and maintain situational awareness. Okay, a little over a mile from now from our final approach fix. 2,400, or correction, 1,600 is our altitude, and 90 knots. Just over half a mile now from final approach fix, 1,600, 90 knots. Descent or decision altitude is 301 feet. And now you'll see the countdown there. Okay. Now, what you'll notice is happening is the approach mode is now taken over. We're on the LPV coupled approach portion right now. So we are starting to descent. The thing that we would want to do then is to confirm our missed approach. We'll be climbing straight out to 1,300, then a left turn to 2,400. So this is completely coupled. You'll see I've not changed any altitudes. Well, that haze, as reported in the METAR, is definitely making it a little bit difficult to see the airport, which we're on an RNAV approach, so that's really not an issue as long as we can break out at 301 feet. We should be fine, so fully expect that. Just got a little under 3 miles now to the runway. Okay, 500 to go until minimums. zoom in here, see if we see the airport anywhere. Sure enough, there it is. So, the airport environment is in sight. You'll notice that we are exactly on glide slope, on the LPV glide slope. Here comes that haze. We're at 90 knots. We can go full flaps. We just need to maintain a little bit better than 80 now. Just to give us some buffer for if the autopilot decides to do anything crazy. Alright, there's 500 check. Coming up on our decision. Let's do it here. 100 to minimums. Yeah, I'm going to turn that off and get ready to disconnect autopilot. And there is minimums. Autopilot disconnected. Runway environment is in sight. Landing assured, and we've confirmed runway 35. We'll have a bit of a crosswind here, so we need to account for that. Actually, quite a bit of crosswind. Okay, the runway's made. Pull off the power. So we've got a little 60-knot quartering headwind there, so that's what we expected, and we are down. That was a coupled LPV approach in the Cirrus. Yeah, in fact, if we can back taxi on the runway, that would be fantastic. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll see if there's no other traffic. Got the corner there, and we'll head to parking. So, a coupled approach in the Cirrus SR22 with the RealityXP 430 W GPS. Hope you enjoyed.